This video uses sources of now Judge Napolitano and his YouTube channel, Judging Freedom, and there was another video of geopolitics that I put a link to, also involved. So our country's names are being used criminally foreign influence while tactically delusions wrought, and we need calm means to be able to demonstrate this. The news also with the intelligence community has roles at locations. Also, there's a location slash S, the ones next to it too, involved Weathersfield Pizza and this police chief Cintron. They're pretending things are debatable that aren't. He has a whole bunch of police departments, family members retired and standing, and other Weathersfield police chief retired like him who have been through time involved with predicate acts. They also were involved with the predicate acts method of pretending it's personal when people say that to them. I never communicated with him. They attached me to fake communications with doctors as a kid and with police forms. They're attaching little kids and their families to fake. They're putting fake things in databases. Now, these are people leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since roles. Weathersfield Pizza has wire crimes with these people involved and with them pretending other at the same time as their roles, also other natures of organized crime, worse than war crimes on and off Central Connecticut State University, on and off intercity spots next to Trinity College. I don't know their names, they know mine. Their roles with the Weathersfield Pizza and people tied to them, with this Maria Vizino, Steven Stocco, Mark Violet, people that involve planting evidences. I never had a class with them. I had one class with Steven Stocco one time. I had nothing to do with them. They were trying to plant evidence. I could tell they were bullying him with a Ray Claw and a Paul Zano. That's where they made an exception of having a coach, because they put me in fake locations, fake ties to a Paul Zano when I was in grammar school and middle school. I had nothing to do with him, grammar school and middle school. I noted the exceptions on Facebook. They had to lie about the murder because those are people leading up to the. I caught that involved with a principal child abuser. The news has roles with such. WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves. And they have wire crime acts and methods with the people playing stupid, hear no evil, see no over the phone. And then they pretend that they don't understand people. I didn't understand. God, did you go? Fix the fake conversations with me. In other words, and fix it, get the interbranch onto paper. They prevented writing interbranch and they made exceptions. They're pretending to demonstrate other, but they demonstrate the same thing. And their roles with threats, as their roles with various predicate acts, extortion here, and not just against me, but I can only speak for myself. So I've been asking for writing from before the World Trade Center attack. People involved with Connecticut District Court, New Britain Superior Court, and Hartford courts. They have roles also with families on off the state judicial branch offices through time, spreading lies and roles of wire crime action methods, and with the behavior of kids. And then they're going to talk about it. They're putting kids where they're making confessions about their roles also with mayors involved and election locations, use criminally foreign influence. They have their big debates about how they're going to they have the subject treatments like, okay, in other words, they have the jobs employed, criminally foreign influence, where our founders left us to communicate other than is being communicated for themselves. They told us, they communicated for us not to leave out why and how they had to counter extort the other founders. And everyone was roles already having heard each other, and that was sustained. And having countered it and or helped each other as collusions too, with criminal insidiousness natures of negative treatments and positive treatments as collusions to screen and to further that for other additional reasons. So also screening increasingly the breaching method, the hyperpredicate acts delivery system method, if you will. I'm not a lawyer. Lawyers are also recorded with all sides of criminal and civil cases still being used to lock in the same illusions into databases, also with the interbranch from off those locations originally, and still collusions with all crime scenes slash the hypercrime scene. It's been inherent, active, and progressive to the people who speak about the with our names of our countries, leaving out that. Leaving out, in other words, others communicated for other founders under the guise of their names too, because people are inherited, like to what they call defense and intelligence at the same time, you know, and sequentially, tactical ulterior from how nature employs our names to be used are different slash S, individually finite, grouped different slash ages, areas, sexes, group difference slash S in species volume, the species body of individual bodies. And know how the other species bodies, they have two eyes. There is an identity of hypersimultaneous that we didn't invent, and in the other species bodies didn't invent it. There is Earth's a special difference. We did not invent it. We are being forced to ignore its relativity to all these. It's differential, but differentially increasingly valuable relativity to all these subject treatments forced to be entertained, abridged when we have the means. Like, for example, they have foreign and domestic militaries involved with Police Chief Cintron, and with that use of that corners of streets, and like that one there, where the officers reported to have shot someone. And so the Police Chief Cintron is reportedly involved with Jessica Cintron, and people involved with a Jonathan Mayana, who is involved with sequence shifts, including how and when I know him, and the people attaching with medical corruption and with the military, foreign and domestic, criminally foreign influence, roles with names on off the state capitol, with an O'Brien family and with a Cololo family who had conversations with police departments. They have been involved with criminally foreign influence through time, also with the FBI and other agencies, and co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and their family members and people like around corners of streets near them. Their roles with the extended family members at the same time of overt criminal enterprises, private ones of people from all these different countries and news locations and people on campuses with predicate acts, with facts behind people's backs, putting fake things in databases, hiding what's actually recording while they're making more up at crime scenes at campuses. And all ages and ages, including fire campuses and medical campuses. They're using rights and directions to lie, like their roles with Russians, with medical campuses like Hartford Hospital, also with the military, with the investigations of the World Trade Center attack as collusions. Also, they have collusions with overt criminal enterprises, with the various natures of courts and their extended family members covering up lie progressions, where and how they get away with this is also recorded, how they have roles with predicate acts methods before they take oaths. And they have the identities of the three branches of government assigned to entertain what, can't entertain itself and afford to protract short words properly. For example, regarding their roles with predicate acts with facts and how they have our other communicated for our founders than they communicated necessary to understand with reception of any statute or the amendments. See, you're not supposed to leave out how no one has treated honestly the extortion and the torture of George Washington, let alone of George Washington and of Marbury versus Madison. I mean, of James Madison simultaneously. You would have found out that our founders had to counter-extort the other founders. And the only reason they were capable of that, one, is because of the damage control still being done, and at the time by Native Americans, and still being done now by Native Americans. Before they had the name, they were already, this breaching method was against every human being since semi-ancient times. There are proofs that the republic for which we stand in the English language was revealed to be taught not without yin yang and alpha and omega together. So how we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time. Some people have the same color, with the exceptions, like brown eyes. Some people have the same. You know what I'm saying? Fox News has a sea of blue eyes. Sometimes, in other words. but not anyone knows how to speak for difference, so they fight with each other because you guys came through campuses that had the short words about the predicate acts with facts delivery system method that set up slavery. You have other communicated for it. You have other pretended your emotions. And then you have other pretended about other people's emotions. Emotions show if someone's using a system other than the way it is natural. That's what they're about. But you guys can't afford that discern. And you guys were shown how to exploit that at all natures of people speaking about for sophistication. People who speak the best about sophistication are the people who use the overt but slash simultaneously insidious evidences and their absence with subject treatments, absence of the revelations that come from having black people's whites of eyes, and laws that spoke for other. I mean, the laws that assign natural communications to mean other. That means, and they force them to be other. So Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. And so the president, see, it's different if a president a name. There's not criminal foreign influence is fluent through our nations. They have to be countered. The overt criminal enterprises and how evil they are. That's because the intercampuses and the difference of the best ones and the good ones, they have roles with collusions. We're self-valued, other being and having been only known, communicated for our founders, then they left us to communicate for themselves. Was my train of thought. But what's important about torture too? This is important. The World Trade Center made a whole bunch of fakes. Self-value that fakes had only ever been, where they had to fake it before they could make it. To use that for phrase, I heard that before. I don't know who said fake it to make it, but that's what they had. They had to they had to just adapt as fakes, so they couldn't speak for reality. They couldn't nature properly, which is hyper native pure. And so the Native Americans had to fight with the Native Americans because for syntactical reasons. How they're going to, their system, their means to be organized are being taken away. The only alternatives is if they would self-value means, needs, and natures of criminal to cause criminal insidiousness natures of positives. The only means provided more and more, where nature's system is one tactical ulterior, where nature's system is an identity of relativity to positive and negative simultaneously, but hyper additionally from the ways we are inherently finite, active, and progressive to the future and to the extent of its value here and now. But we can't afford to defend treatments of good or bad and descriptions of people and of instances as is, and uses of names as is. We can't afford to have that defended, because then they won't be allowed to protract our short words and revelations that come just from having black people's whites of eyes and people who deny such, how they get away with such. It's got nothing. They have to pretend through the world at different ages, blaming other things other themselves. They're telling people to blame prejudice because they're communicating other for our founders as collusions with it. Not honest science and integrity sport for New York City. Roles with predicate acts with facts, methods spoke for New York City with child abuse methods that are simultaneously elderly abuse methods, natures as criminal insidious natures. Oh, but that's all there is. And at the same time, look, the whole world's blowing up. Of course. That's how that, in other words, that's why you guys can't follow mandated law. All this would have been connected. All this has connections to the people with the World Trade Center still. They're hiding roles with WFSB in Connecticut as roles with names, intercities, interstates, right from the founding locations where George Washington had to leave slavery entrenched. And I don't know who left or what was about the witch trials, but I know they're about slavery. And knowing that's true always, there comes with other revelations. Yeah. Campus Martius calls you through the breeze. The ancient campus of the Republic is a function. So we are not, and so they are preventing legitimate, sane takes on the Old Testament and on the other books, other versions of the Bible, and they're preventing legitimate, sane takes on the Quran. They're preventing what they say at the beginnings of those books is the only important part, the most important part, and the only important part. In fact, both of them say that's the only part for transliteration of the Quran. To the only part, and per the Old Testament transliteration of the Old Testament written in English, it says the only part that you have to know is right up there at the beginning of the Old Testament, where it says names of the people of science. The people of science are going to come together. And this is the only part you have to know up to. You have to know just right here, up this part. And then the Quran, it says the only thing someone has to do is be honest. Are you going to call the identity of the hyper simultaneous Allah or not? See, already before the messengers of modern religions were even born, the sciences became criminally foreign influenced. Therefore, uses of their names and of the names of the human species volume science use tactically ulterior syntactically from how nature communicates. That's what we discern when we see black pupils. They left out why and how our founders were even capable of extorting, because the laws are so crazy, slavery against everyone already. Syntactical possession, so it could measure everyone through themselves and through their groupings, all increasingly incapable of having an individual defend the finite. And only an individual can defend the finite. And only a grouped body of value that defends that is about and for and cares about the finite and individual first as its nature could ever speak for, let alone liberate the Constitution. Abridged. We're supposed to get the Constitution unabridged. They're pretending things are debatable. The people who speak about, they want to know about their knowledge of good and evil is being used to get over on correlation nature. I'll take that from a little bit past the part where we only have to know up to, because they can't defend either their takes on of the Quran or of the Old Testament, including the people who counter it. All collusions. Otherwise, you guys would have realized there are proofs. In other words, that they did damage control consciously for us to figure out how pantheism was about the Trinity and about Allah's name, the 1/3/5, distinct identities of forever nature as distinct identities of time. We know there's a distinct identity of time as the past that we know is true always. And we know there's an extent of the past that we know is not true always. In other words, and we know there's an extent that is active now that we know is true always. We know there's an extent of reality that is true right now we don't know about. And if we're honest about what we don't know about and all this together, not leaving out the slightest finite detail or significance of things. People, what's this have to do with the subject? Israel, Palestine. There are proofs that they have roles with psychiatry, tactically delusions raw, criminally foreign influence roles with the logic at formal law locations that still have overtly criminally foreign influence roles and hyper criminally foreign influence roles at countries A through Z. You guys left out what it says is the most important. People don't even realize that, and all these fights went on. Oh, because we were just trying to have the fight. We're watching that. No, you guys have obligations to have to get through this game. You guys are using that as fake, pretended passions and emotions. Oh, well, you said something bad about this group. The Constitution is supposed to keep the right to religion, not us. In other words, if we say something because these groups are hurting each other, they have people plant evidences about Jewish people syntactically with a Paul Zano. Repeat it. The only times I know him, and then when they're good. In other words, and he's involved with the people interstates, with the police intelligence community's family. There's a Jack Zano also as one of the ones involved with WTNH sources who made fake emails they pretended I sent. They have roles with child abuser principal and a Rick CM Faglione and others recorded, and Fred Grisey has roles with people on Quinnipiac University with a Kevin Harris, who was involved with abuses of little kids who has men and women involved with the medical community, involved with foreign and domestic abuses of little kids, including with the FBI and other agencies. So Quinnipiac has roles with election crimes, and it's nothing personal against them. All these campuses have roles with this. It's nothing personal against them. Campuses are great. They want to have debate with Boolean logic too. Leaving out what really revealed algebra came from ancient times, before semi-ancient times, before latter semi-ancient times, before modern religions. About the corruption, and not just about the corruption in latter semi-ancient times, about a function by that, only allowing that as collusions with it, as the criminal and ceaseless natures of positive treatments. Like with the word peace, honest science would have revealed the difference between peace and hyper peace. Peace. Cease. So geopolitics has uses of our names and differences. They have interreligious spots and natures who prevent people free speech, and then they pretend people are making theories. So the intelligence community uses, and they value, nature's above them and below them. Or this is my family member. That's my motivation. Really, though, it's not about that. The online police, their syntax regarding it. They have roles with readings of statutes, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought. That's one of the things that the revelations come with this, having black people's rights of eyes. So we have a whole bunch of short words that are prevented from being allowed to protract. There were also home break-ins that involved uses of a corners of streets near me. The corner of the street at Carriage Hill and Fairlane Drive is involved with roles with uses also singularly used of roles with home break-ins and foreign and domestic families involved with the police forms involved with that, and planting evidences with judges and prosecutors and people with the name Kevin Dillon and Anna Dillon. And there are proofs that they have private investigators too to screen and keep all this complicated things that are simple pretended complicated, and things that are complicated pretended simple, tactically ulterior from how they are actually complicated and simple. And they're pretending that things that are only extensive, but not, for example, that's how they're getting away. They're pretending things that are only extensive are complicated. So Hartford Hospital has a bunch of people that are involved with wire and mail crimes and identity theft, fraud, slander. They've been pretending through the mail. They had conversations with me, and with the exceptions, they hid that which came first, and they faked transcripts there too. And you can't get them on paper because they have their family members involved too. Various natures of courts, judges, and prosecutors from other locations pretending passions and emotions because they've been using the locations to hide lie progressions. Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College have people pretending that they're legitimately with the military and with pilots. and they have roles with untimely deaths, even if they made that up. They have the roles with the people telling the news to lie, and you know, yelling at them when they tell the truth, because the difference of them doing that right or wrong is also exploited. Because in other words, they know they're directed to lie and they're self-valuing that. But then, in other words, they're directed to lie. When they're directed to lie criminally, they hide that. Like when people report, the news attached me to fake conversations with themselves. I asked them. They're blamed. They keep the blame. They're pretending someone has to be blamed for everything, because they've been using that to screen foreign bodies involved with them. They have criminally foreign influence, overt criminal enterprises and private ones involved with phone games with kids, also completely fabricated transcripts made up. There's only three branches of government, kept them criminally foreign influence easier than day. They have everyone using each other's names as fake ties and fake conversations, fake natures of conversations with each other through our lives. So then they pretend we're complaining about other people. They're keeping people incapable of speaking about their own emotions, or if they're being honest or not towards the questions of the courts that are criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. If they're being honest towards their actually nature's system, or caring about the actual finite detail or what came first. So people from Trinity College and Central Connecticut State University did things in the past with people I don't know the names of that use my name. And the people involved with the wire crimes of the Wethersfield police, I know the names of.